Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Steve Callaway, Hillsboro Mayor, and this is our third video cast, which you can watch as a video or listen to as a podcast. So we're glad you're with us, whichever way you're joining us. And also, I'm glad to be welcomed today by Council President Kyle Allen.
Thank you.
This is the end of your 8 years. You've been on council now for 8 years, the last 2 as council president. And so as we were at a watch party recently, it just struck me that this is the culmination. We're watching your replacement be selected by the voters of Hillsboro. Yeah. And so thank you for your 8 years of service, and thank you to your family for their 8 years of support. And so how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Thank you. And thank you, by the way, for having me here.
Absolutely.
Yes, we just had an election last night, and there's many results that are still out, and we don't know how everything's going to go. But I'm really pleased to see so many people come out and participate, right? And it looks like we are going to have a council that is more diverse than it was before. 4 women, which may be, to my memory, a majority of council and more than we've had before. So it was great. Excellent election.
When I came on council, there were, and as I've served on council, we were, had 3 women, but this may be, we're checking our historical archives. We've had women on council for over 50 years, since the 70s, but this may be the first time we've had a majority. So we'll watch for that, and no doubt it will be in city views, as we move forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, voters.
Yes, indeed. So, as you look back on your 8 years, what do you remember from your campaign of 2014 and, when you took office in 2015?
Yeah, I think it feels like a lifetime ago, looking that far back. There's many issues that I focused on in my campaign, but really it was born out of my leadership style, which goes back to my childhood. Why do I care about this? Why do I want to do good for the community? And so if you don't mind, I'd share a little bit about that.
Sure, please.
So, I grew up with my mother, a single parent family for the most part, struggling with poverty and homelessness. And she really worked to help get us out of that through a pathway of education. So she went back, got her GED, and then she went and got her associates, continued her education, became a LPN, a nurse, and then a registered nurse. And so really was an inspiration to me of somebody who was able to use education to pull them and their kids out of poverty. So that was really impactful for me.
And and when people see a counselor, up on the dais, we make certain assumptions. And, and those are probably assumptions that people wouldn't assign to you, in terms of your background. And so, again, great job, Kyle's mom, and those experiences from our growing up really help determine and dictate how we approach, our job as counselors.
Right.
And, so were there some things that you experienced as a child or as a, adolescent that, kind of became a priority for you then as you moved into your role as a counselor?
Yeah. For one, I saw the community step up and help us, right? We were able to stay in many different places and around our community. My mom was excellent about keeping me in the same schools growing up, and all of that was really impactful. So I saw the value of community and not wanting to neglect that community. But there were some negative things that I saw too. When I would walk to elementary school, Vestal Elementary in Multnomah County, there was a road that us kids called the Rocky Road, right? And it's this, road that's pitted and it's mud puddly and it's got these giant rocks everywhere, hence the Rocky Road. And but it had a sign up at the front that said roadway not improved that the city had put there. And as a kid, I didn't think much of it, but as I got older, it really started to bother me because I would go back to that road every once in a while and it stayed rocky and it never was improved. And so from my perspective, our community was being neglected. I felt like our government knew that there was a problem, but was not putting the resources that were necessary to fix it. So that was impactful for me, and that did actually bleed over into when I ran for city council. I cared very much about infrastructure. I cared about roads. I cared about sidewalks. And The primary one that I was focused on in that election was Cedar Street, which at the time, it had these big culverts.
Right.
It was very unsafe. I saw a car crash there, flip over once. And the Cedar Street went right in front of Brookwood Elementary School. And so I didn't want my legacy to be one where they felt neglected. And so we, of course, did that. We were able to fund that project and design that project and get it built. And it's beautiful now, and they've got sidewalks and street trees, and it's right next to Brookwood, which was rebuilt thanks to the voters in a bond. So that was really important for me in running, and I feel very accomplished that we were able to deliver for personal reasons and because the folks needed it.
Yeah, and you have helped build faith and credibility in local government with the next generation of children who now saw that government came through and worked for them, and just the open ditches, frankly, that existed, where if a child has to get out of the way of a car, they literally are going to end up in the ditch. Right. And there's no shoulder. And, with Jackson School Road was similar. Yeah. When we moved here in the 90s, and we walked once on Jackson School Road to downtown and never again because it was just too unsafe. And it was just a goat trail for parts of it. And, so now there is, as from Grant all the way up to Evergreen, great bike tracks and pedestrian walkways, and it's in lower speed limit, and to see kids on bikes with training wheels, to see elderly people with walkers on Jackson School Road, or on Cedar, it's just really wonderful.
It is. It's really neat. And again, that's infrastructure that was prioritized in front of a school, right? There's a running theme here. I think we have limited resources, and we have a big need, because what happens is that as the city grows and it expands into unincorporated parts that were once Washington County, these sidewalks, these are the ones that need to go and be infilled. Yeah. And so it is a big lift. We're on a much better trajectory. So we've done a lot, as you mentioned, Jackson School Road, Cedar Street. We have a plan now to build these sidewalks for the next 20 years. But one that I have advocated for some time is on 24th Street in front of W.L. Henry Elementary, right? Yeah. That's one that I think that the next city council will need to focus on getting built.
Good. So other pieces of infrastructure, big pieces, highlight, our municipal broadband system. Yeah,
highlight internet, right? So this is really unique. We created a new utility in the city of Hillsboro that is created to deliver high-speed internet to anybody in the city that wants it. And we started to build out that infrastructure. Soon we're going to get everybody connected. And it was so important with how we rolled that out. We rolled it out on net neutral principles, right? We rolled it out with a cornerstone of transparency. And the first places that we started providing access were places that were the least connected in our community, the people that needed it most, that weren't being served by the current providers out there. Either it was too expensive or they weren't being reached out to. So we started to fix that. And being able to provide internet that's 30 times faster than the average internet for $10 for our folks that need it the most, it feels great. It feels great to be able to do good with government.
Yeah, so. And that low income rate of $10 is inclusive of everything, and is applicable for senior citizens, kids, who are in school, free and reduced lunch, or families that don't have kids in school yet, and so it is also reflective of our values of equity and making sure that we are serving those who need it the most.
Right, and the first thing that we did was we connected to every single school in the Hillsboro School District, every single one.
Yes, including those, as you mentioned, school district-wide, but including those who are outside of our city limits.
Right, absolutely.
And my understanding is that saves the school district about $500,000 a year in internet service, costs, and then that goes right back.
And they can
the
reinvest it. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So
that was actually one of my themes when I ran for council, was good government, and I would say that fits into the category of good government.
It does. So. It really does. Good for you. Well done, sir. So you've taken many votes over your 8 years. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry we didn't start counting them back in 2015. But when you think of literally the hundreds and hundreds of votes that you've taken, are there any that stand out to you?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of votes. And one of the things I will say about our city council is that we are great at collaboration. We work these things out in a way that, that allows people to provide consensus. So probably for me, one of the most important votes was one where we were divided, and that was in the sanctuary city debate back in 2016, just after the president was elected. Tensions were high nationally, they were high locally. And we had basically about a 3-month conversation with our community. They filled out this entire chamber, right, coming to speak to us. In fact, spilled over into another room. There were so many people. And ultimately, it was 3 counselors for it, 3 counselors against it. So my vote absolutely mattered one way or another. And it went, and you broke the tie in favor, which is the way that I was voting. So I think that was probably the most important from where my vote really, really mattered. Yeah.
And when we were and still are a sanctuary state, and so that vote was largely symbolic, but it sure sent a very strong message about our values and and what we're willing to publicly stand up for and defend.
And it was about also Mayor Callaway being responsive to the community, right? There were people that felt unsafe to contact our police department, to receive services, or just in a general public safety sense, because they didn't quite understand our separation between our local government and our federal government. So clarifying that, it meant a lot. And I think it's gone a long way to building back that trust that's really needed.
So any programmatic votes that you're proud of as you look back?
I mean, there's a lot of really important ones that we've done. I mean, one example would be the Willamette water supply pipeline. So we rely on clean, healthy drinking water, and the way that we've done that to position Hillsboro residents for the next 50 years is through this water supply pipeline. And we've done measures to make sure that it's going to be resilient to the big earthquake potentially, right? That'll hit us the next 30 years. It's a massive pipe, large enough for a human being to walk through, but that is important infrastructure. Often people take it for granted. They turn their tap on, they get that clean drinking water, they take their shower, their bath, whatever. But it is so important that we deliver that, and that's our responsibility to our community, and we think 50 years ahead, or we think 100 years ahead.
And I think that part of our legacy will be that people are grateful for infrastructure or programs, and they don't know who voted for it or who created it, but they're just really glad it's here. And I certainly feel that way, with so much of the, that was in place when we moved here, to Hillsboro in '96. So now your wife Lisa is on our school board, and so you and Lisa have kind of been described as Hillsboro's power couple. And so how has that been for the two of you as you raise your family and as you work, and you both have these very time-consuming volunteer positions, and and when you started, your younger child was a year old, and she's only known you as a counselor, and she's only known your wife, her mom, as a school board director. What's that been like for you and Lisa and your family?
Oh man, so, well, first I would say, Lisa and I are cut from the same cloth, but she's probably cut from a better cloth. By that I mean, we have the same similar values of community service, and so we started volunteering. Elected office is just another mechanism where we're trying to accomplish that, trying to do good in our community. So to me, it just feels natural that we both ended up where we're at currently, and we're raising our kids. We hope that they volunteer and that they want to participate in elections and be a part of the process and improve their community. And so, having my child, as you mentioned, Lily, and Caden, my son, grow up really with us in these roles. Has been an interesting experience. It's been hard at times. It keeps us busy, as you know. Often, for instance, our council meetings are on Tuesdays, the school board meetings are on Tuesdays, and so we're scrambling around to try to find grandma or somebody to look after the kids. So it has been challenging, but I think what our kids will see is it's manageable, right? If it's important to you, it's manageable.
Right.
And so, I feel like I could just take on more.
Yeah,
So,
good.
yeah.
So we talked about, favorite projects,
Yeah.
important votes. What about favorite memories?
Oh, favorite memories. I think, I really like Lightopia. We started Lightopia during the pandemic, which Gordon Faber Recreational Complex, all of those Christmas lights, we open it up for free to the public. It's very, very popular. And as like a family, Christmas is our favorite holiday, so we always go out to like PIR and stuff. But now we have something local that we can do with the kids. And I really have enjoyed my time rolling through Lightopia. And I'm also very happy that we've been able to continue it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And agreed. And I think, as we used, some federal funds, to create this and for free, and to see other communities of Washington County coming out and enjoying it too. Probably like you, we've gone through it more than once. And, with our grandkids, and it really is becoming a wonderful, Christmas, holiday tradition.
Yeah. And there's so many things. I mean, it's not just the big infrastructure projects or, particular important votes, but, Prosperidad, for instance, our economic empowerment center that we built right down here on Main Street.
Right.
It does many things for our community, for people that are struggling.
Right.
But one of those things is they do help people get their GED when they need it. And I think back to my mom.
Right.
And I think back to, those opportunities get leveraged over time in ways that we can't comprehend.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of many projects that we've done in Hillsboro.
Well, and going back to projects, Future Connect is one for me, because I knew growing up I was going to go to college, and we were able to get both of our kids through college without debt, which was huge. And with Future Connect, to provide 50 kids a year, high school seniors, whether as long as they graduated from Hillsboro High School, not the Hillsboro High School, but a high school in Hillsboro, they're eligible.
Which means that some folks don't even live within the city limits, but we still provide that resource to kids that need it. So.
We still support them, and they can leave PCC with an associate's degree, with having successfully, because they would have had cohorts, they would have had tutors, so the support, the coaches, and then they can go on either into a trade if it was a vocational track, or they can go into a four-year college, and many then are also able to continue that with equal financial support. And so for me, that then, with your mom as an example, her education gave her, that pathway of social mobility, economic mobility, in an upward trajectory. And I see our work with Future Connect doing the same thing. And I'm excited that better jobs lead to, better standard of living, better health care, maybe a house, which then, begins that generational positive trajectory. And we have the privilege of contributing to that.
We do, and that program is amazing, and it focuses on students that first-time college students, folks that have high grades, have the GPA. They are capable, but they just don't have the financial means to get there. And so this little bit helps them get there. And that program of mentorship, it's not just the money, but the mentorship through PCC has been shown to have these kids be on a greater trajectory of success.
So you were able to do some travel, as a counselor. Probably most often was back to Washington, D.C. with the National League of Cities Congressional Summit. Any favorite memories from that?
I can see your smile, so I know what you're getting at. There's many favorite memories, but what I think Mayor Callaway is talking about is back in 2015. So I was a new counselor at this time, influenced by the mayor, who was a counselor at that time. No, we were at the National League of Cities, and the President of the United States, Barack Obama, was going to come to this conference and was going to speak. And so we were walking by, and we kind of peeked inside and saw, all of these seats being set up. More than 3,000 people were going to be there, and the stage is lit up, and folks are kind of, setting it up there, and the podium is there. And it just kind of hits you. There's one podium and there's thousands of eyes looking at you, and what that would feel like. And so I don't know if you poked me or what, but I went up on stage. I actually walked up on stage when I wasn't supposed to, and I went to the podium so you could grab a picture. And while I'm at the podium, I look up, and there's these massive screens.
Yeah.
And the cameras are there, they're on, and I'm seeing myself projected on these giant screens. And I see all of the people sitting at the chairs turn around and look at me. And then people rush the stage and push me off because of course we were breaking the rules.
They guided you off.
They guided me off.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is where the President of the United States is going to stand.
Because it wasn't just any podium. It was that kind of the podium with the dark blue angular top, which is clearly the presidential podium, and the only thing it didn't have was the presidential seal, which isn't affixed until he walked out on stage.
I think I went back and I took a selfie with that that podium and the seal once the president was there. But
and that was also just a very special moment to listen to him speak.
Absolutely.
That next morning, and to be able to experience it with our Youth Advisory Council as well.
Yeah, and he was honestly very inspirational to me. I've started to believe that I could do this when he was running his original campaigns, and so being able to see him was impactful for me on another level too.
Yeah. So. All right, we have some lightning round questions. You ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Favorite park? Favorite Hillsboro park?
Well, I love all of. This is not going to be lightning round because I'm going to talk for a while, but I love all of our parks.
Okay.
I think of Renco Woods Nature Park, right? We constructed this, more than 40 acres of open space. We built playgrounds, bridges, beautiful asset in our community, and it's going to be here for years to come.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Favorite community event?
I would go back to Lightopia or the Christmas tree lighting holidays. Yeah.
I remember when your kids lit that.
Yeah.
That one year. That was very cool. Favorite food?
A pizza.
Nice.
I love pizza.
Favorite food at a council work session?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because we don't get pizza there.
But not regularly. I think Thai food, pad Thai.
All right. And do you have a favorite restaurant?
I like Copper River.
All right, very good. What is the latest council meeting that we had in terms of time that you can remember?
I think we had some meetings that went 1:30 in the morning, maybe close to 2 in the morning, where we were discussing issues, whether it be no-cause evictions or different policies where we really needed to figure some things out.
Yeah. And I think sometimes Kyle, when people see us vote, and it tends to be a 6-0 vote or 5-1, and people think we're rubber stamping, really what that is evidence that we have communicated well to staff. We've worked out differences among ourselves. So when when the finished package, if you will, comes back to council, it's something that we have worked through and agree on, and so that at that point, all of the heavy lifting has been done, and that takes place sometimes after midnight in a work session.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you remember the longest council packet you read in pages?
I don't remember the pages, but again, it was probably close to 1,500, 2,000 pages. I mean, some of them are pretty dense.
They are. And the nice thing now is when we started, we would get packets. Yeah. Now it's all online.
So
exactly.
we don't. Save paper.
So what is your favorite part of council meetings?
I love public comment. I think that's really important. That's another thing that we did is we moved public comment to the beginning of our meeting, and that was important for me because I wanted people to be able to express themselves before we made decisions.
Right.
But I think probably the work session that we do right after our city council meetings, because we're not limited by time. Staff does a great job of bringing materials to us, and we get probably the most robust conversations in those.
Very good. Yeah. And your favorite mayor, Willie or Callaway?
You're trying to get me in trouble. Callaway.
That was that was very good. Very well done. So if you were going to leave a card or a note to your successor, what would it say?
We should do that, actually. It's a great idea.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
When I got on council, what I was told or us hearing other people say is follow the Hillsboro way. And so I would say follow the Hillsboro way, meaning seek compromise, right? Understand that all of us on council were elected by the same body of people, and not one person has more authority than another person, right? So work together, hold yourself with integrity, communicate your votes, and really just follow the Hillsboro way, and don't go off the rails. Work together.
And you know what? I would say, communicating,
Yeah.
finding compromise, and communicating, all of those things that you said you would include in a note. Those are exactly the things that you've done for the last 8 years as a counselor. And we are better for it as a community. We are better for it as a council. And so thank you, for your 8 years. I look forward to seeing what's next for you and for Lisa. And again, thanks to your kids and wife Lisa for their support. And so we appreciate it very much. And I will miss you. I will miss seeing you next to me. Although, I hope to still see you in the audience periodically.
Well, it's been wonderful, and I appreciate your friendship through this as well.
Thank you. And thanks to you for joining us for today's Community Conversations. Again, thanks to Council President Kyle Allen, and but most importantly, thanks to you for watching. Thanks to you for being a contributing and important member of our Hillsboro community.